In his garage, Charlie is busy repairing the plane his wife, Sarah, gave him for his birthday. She walks in to remind him she's leaving soon for a business conference in London. Once again, she invites him to join her, but he declines, buried under a mountain of work. Later, Charlie arrives at CIA headquarters. As he makes his way to the decryption and analysis department, he passes through a series of high-tech security scanners, his own inventions. Settling into work, he suddenly receives a message from Inquiline, a shadowy contact he's been corresponding with for years. As always, Inquiline has classified intel to offer, but this time, they include a chilling warning: these files could endanger the entire CIA. Charlie tries to pinpoint their location. He guesses Istanbul, but Inquiline deflects the question. Intrigued, Charlie begins analyzing the data, but even his exceptional mind can't crack the encrypted files. After lunch, he returns to his office and gets a call from Sarah, letting him know she's landed in London. He already knows, he's been tracking her movements. Their conversation is brief, his mind is fixed on the cryptic documents. Still unable to break the code, Charlie carries his laptop into a restricted section of the facility, where an advanced system offers more firepower. Finally, he gains access to the files, and what he finds leaves him stunned. The documents contain top-secret information. A drone strike, masked as a self-detonation attack, was both authorized and covered up. News footage included in the files reports 150 casualties, including French Special Forces and Danish Marines. The entire operation was orchestrated by none other than Chief Moore, Charlie's boss. That night, back home, Charlie tries calling Sarah. She doesn't answer. He leaves a voicemail, unease settling deep in his chest. The next morning, Charlie arrives at work to an unexpected sight. Chief Moore is already waiting for him. Without explanation, Moore escorts him to the office of O'Brien, the newly appointed CIA director. O'Brien delivers devastating news: there's been a terrorist attack at a hotel in London, and Sarah was among the victims. Stunned, Charlie refuses to believe it. He insists on calling Sarah, but Moore silently switches on the television. The news broadcast confirms the tragedy, for armed assailants stormed the hotel, took 4 hostages, and executed 2. Moore then plays the hotel's security footage. The chaotic scenes leave no doubt. Sarah was one of the casualties. When Charlie returns home, he's met by a crowd of reporters swarming the front yard, and police struggling to hold them back. A friend quietly ushers him inside, shielding him from the media frenzy. The next day, overcome with suspicion, Charlie confronts Moore and Supervisor Caleb. He questions how a heavily surveilled city like London could allow terrorists to slip through unnoticed, especially during peak traffic hours. Moore assures him the investigation is ongoing, but Caleb dismissively orders Charlie to take time off and go home. The day after, Charlie heads to the airport to retrieve Sarah's body and her belongings. At home, he unpacks her suitcase and finds a wrapped gift she had bought for him. Holding it in his hands, he breaks down, consumed by grief. Unable to sit idle, Charlie returns to the CIA. Using the advanced systems in the restricted area, he hacks into the hotel's security network and nearby traffic cams. He meticulously reconstructs a timeline of the attack and presents his findings to his superiors. His analysis reveals that the 4 assailants stole a vehicle in East End, entered the hotel through the service entrance, and expertly erased all fingerprints and DNA traces. According to surveillance audio and metadata, the terrorists had arranged a meeting with representatives from Impact Investments, an Indonesian firm. But something went wrong. The footage captures a heated argument erupting in the corridor, just moments before the violence began. One of the security guards grew agitated during a tense exchange, prompting one of the terrorists to open fire. A guard was killed instantly, another was left in critical condition. The gunfire triggered the hotel's security alert system, and police were immediately contacted. In a panic to escape, the terrorists stormed into a nearby conference room and took hostages. Sarah was among them. She'd been trying to help others flee when she was captured. Using voice and facial recognition analysis, Charlie uncovers the identities of the attackers: Mishka from Moscow, Lawrence, a former South African Special Forces operative, Horst, a known mercenary, and Gretchen, a disgraced former intelligence officer. But when Charlie presents his findings to Moore and Caleb, he's stunned by their indifference. Their reaction, or lack thereof, tells him everything. They already knew. Trying to brush him off, they insist an operation is underway and refer him to a therapist. The next morning, Charlie hides a microchip inside his CIA ID badge. He slips past security undetected. At his desk, he prints classified files, then uses a skimmer device attached to the printer to create digital backups. That night, he sits alone in a bar, staring blankly at a jukebox. The following morning, Charlie confronts his superiors again. He lays out a damning list of Moore's covert operations: the bombing of a Syrian hospital, a drone strike on an Allied base in Yemen that killed thousands of civilians, and more. Then, he drops a bombshell. He's triggered a dead man switch. If he doesn't input a specific code every 5 hours, all the classified intel will be released to major international news agencies. In exchange for silence, Charlie demands full CIA combat and field training, untraceable passports, cash, a weapon, and actionable intelligence on Sarah's killers. After the meeting, Charlie returns to his car and vomits, overwhelmed by the weight of what he's just done. Back in the office, Moore dismisses Charlie's threat as a bluff, but Caleb isn't so sure. They agree, if Charlie's lying, they'll locate the trigger. And if he's telling the truth, well, accidents happen during training. Sometime later, Caleb and his team begin investigating how Charlie managed to copy classified CIA files. They suspect a skimmer might have been used. While their secured computers are immune to such methods, printers are more vulnerable. Charlie may have sent the files to a printer and used a magnetic strip to capture the data. Reviewing surveillance footage, they confirm that Charlie had purchased a magnetic strip from a local store, but how he smuggled it into and out of the building remains a mystery. Searching Charlie's home yields few results, but they trace his movements to a local bar he visited twice. At the bar, the team inspects the jukebox and discovers an ABBA CD placed underneath it. Curious, Caleb selects the track from the jukebox catalog, only to hear static. Suspicious, they remove the CD. Clearly, Charlie left something behind. Meanwhile, Charlie has arrived at a CIA training facility, where he's greeted by Colonel Henderson. His training begins at the shooting range, but Charlie's marksmanship is poor. He struggles to hit his target unless he's standing just a few feet away. However, when it comes to explosives, Charlie excels. He assembles complex devices with speed and precision, leaving Henderson genuinely impressed. Next comes identity training. Henderson puts Charlie under intense pressure, grabbing him, shouting, even throwing him to the ground, to test if he can recall his new backstory under stress. Charlie passes. They finalize his new identity and forge the necessary passports. That night, Henderson visits Charlie in his room. He tells him bluntly, "You're not a killer." But Charlie insists he doesn't want revenge, he wants justice. Henderson then hands him a pistol and orders him to aim at his chest. Charlie's hands tremble uncontrollably. After a few seconds, he lowers the gun, unable to pull the trigger. Back at CIA headquarters, agents finally decrypt the data from the CD found in the jukebox. It confirms their worst suspicion: Charlie had been bluffing. There was no dead man switch. They immediately inform Moore and Caleb, but they're already too late. Unbeknownst to them, Charlie is still watching. The chip he smuggled inside his ID badge wasn't just a bypass tool, it was a bug. He embedded it in the files he gave his superiors, allowing him to monitor their every move. The moment Moore learns the truth, he calls Henderson and orders Charlie's arrest. But by then, Charlie is already gone. After hanging up, Moore finally notices the hidden bug embedded in the classified files and realizes Charlie has been listening the entire time. Furious, he grabs a secure line and speaks directly to him. "This is treason, Charlie." But Charlie simply removes his earpiece and tosses it in the trash before boarding his flight. Once in London, Charlie clears customs under his new identity and immediately heads toward Paris. But the fake passport triggers an alert in the CIA system. Moore wastes no time. He dispatches Colonel Henderson to intercept him. In Paris, Charlie rents a modest hotel room just a block from the restaurant where Gretchen is known to frequent. After a few days of surveillance, she finally shows up. Charlie moves close enough to begin tracking her phone. That night, he waits outside her apartment building. When a tenant exits, Charlie slips inside and quietly picks the lock to Gretchen's unit using a tutorial video. Inside, he searches the apartment quickly but methodically. He photographs her schedule, pockets a handgun he finds in a drawer, and prepares to leave. But suddenly, his phone buzzes. Gretchen is returning. Panicked, Charlie hides in the stairwell and waits. When she opens the door and steps inside, he raises the gun, then hesitates. He can't do it. Defeated, he rushes back to the hotel and imagines Sarah waiting there, trying to steady himself with the thought of her. Later that night, he reviews the photos he took. One detail stands out: multiple hospital visits. Intrigued, Charlie hacks into Gretchen's medical records and discovers she has a severe allergy to pollen. The next morning, Charlie buys an armful of flowers and waits at a nearby cafe until Gretchen appears. He follows her to the hospital. While she undergoes testing inside a medical imaging room, the doctor steps out due to a system malfunction. That's when Charlie slips in and locks the door. He seals Gretchen inside the imaging chamber and calmly begins to release concentrated pollen. She starts panicking and gasping for breath. As she weakens, Charlie leans in and says, "Tell me where to find Horst, the man who shot Sarah." The allergists don't let Gretchen talk, so Charlie opens the chamber, only for Gretchen to push him against the desk. They start fighting all over the room, throwing each other against every piece of furniture. Charlie takes out his gun, but Gretchen brings him down and opens the door to finally run away. A desperate Charlie chases Gretchen into the street, gun in hand. Just as he raises it, a speeding car slams into her. Horrified, Charlie hesitates, but forces himself to approach the broken body. He retrieves her phone and stumbles away, discarding the blood-stained lab coat into the nearest trash bin. Back at his hotel, Charlie scrubs the blood off in the sink. He hurriedly packs his things and slips out into the night. At the bus station, he buys a ticket to Marseille. News of Gretchen's death quickly reaches CIA headquarters. Director O'Brien confronts Moore, demanding answers. Moore gives a cold, vague reply: "Appears she was killed by one of our own." That night, in Marseille, Charlie drinks heavily at a bar, trying to numb the weight of what he's done. For a moment, he thinks he sees Sarah dancing across the room, but it's only a stranger who resembles her. Then, in the corner of his eye, he spots Colonel Henderson approaching. Panic surges. Charlie shoves through the crowd and bolts out of the bar, sprinting into the streets. He ducks into another bar, but Henderson follows. Cornered, Charlie rushes to the restroom and locks the door, but there's no window, no escape. Knowing he's out of options, he finally exits and joins Henderson at the bar. Henderson reveals he found Charlie by tracking Gretchen's phone. Charlie listens silently, then glances at his phone and shows Henderson a countdown timer, and bolts. A bomb detonates in the bathroom. Screams erupt, glass shatters, and chaos floods the bar. Henderson loses sight of Charlie in the mayhem, and the phone tracker goes dark. By morning, Charlie is airborne, hitching a ride on a cargo plane bound for Turkey. Once in Istanbul, he heads to a restaurant and texts Inqualine. Noticing a man's phone ringing, he tries to approach him but is blocked by a woman who tells him to check his phone. Then Charlie leaves the restaurant and the woman approaches him again, confirming she's Inqualine. She already knows about Sarah. Calmly, she instructs him to remove his hat and backpack, stash them in a shopping bag, and blend in by pretending to shop for a while. Later, they meet again at a garage. Inqualine drives him to her home. During the drive, Inqualine opens up. She became a hacker 6 years ago, after her husband died. He was a CIA asset embedded in Russian intelligence, and the original Inqualine. He taught her everything she knows. The official story says he fell from a window, but accidents like that don't happen by accident, she adds coldly. When they arrive at her secluded home, Inqualine admits this is the longest she's stayed in one place, 3 years. She's tired of running. If the Russians ever come for her, she says, she has a gun ready. Not for them, for me. Later, they begin to dig deeper into the case. Charlie explains that Horst is the one who hires mercenaries for more. Lawrence is the arms dealer. Inqualine offers to pose as a fellow arms trader to make contact with him. Then there's Mishka, a traveler who can't help but document everything online. They pore over Mishka's latest posts. In one, a woman appears beside him. They run facial recognition and trace her to an Instagram account. She's in Spain. It's a solid lead. At CIA headquarters, Caleb instructs his team to monitor all 3 terrorists, hoping one of them will lead them to Charlie. Meanwhile, Director O'Brien confronts Moore. She demands he stop running Black Ops without her knowledge. Moore listens politely, then replies with a smirk, "Your predecessor said the same thing. I gave him my full support, too." After the meeting, O'Brien gets into her car. Her assistant shows her a photo of Henderson, taken in Spain. She realizes Moore is still moving pieces behind her back. Without hesitation, she dispatches one of her own agents to follow Henderson. Back in Europe, Charlie and Inqualine track Mishka by hacking into a hotel's security cameras. Charlie books a room at the same hotel and quietly begins surveillance. It doesn't take long to learn Mishka's favorite routine, swimming in the rooftop pool that connects both hotel towers. At the same time, Henderson is tracking Charlie in the area. The next day, Charlie starts building a device to help him catch Mishka and hides it inside the hotel. Later, he follows Mishka to the bar, not realizing that Henderson is already in the hotel lobby. At the bar, Charlie notices a suspicious man he recognizes, someone he's seen before, so he realizes he's being followed. He quickly tells Inqualine through his earpiece. She checks the man's face and confirms he's a CIA agent. She also spots Henderson on the security cameras and tells Charlie to abort the mission. But Charlie insists on continuing. When Mishka goes to the pool, Charlie confronts him and demands to know where Horst is. He warns Mishka that if he doesn't talk, the pool will collapse. Mishka doesn't believe him and starts swimming away, so Charlie presses a button. The glass under the pool begins to crack. Mishka panics and tries to swim faster, but it's too late. The glass shatters, and he falls to his death as water floods the street below. Inqualine immediately warns Charlie that Henderson and another agent are closing in. She gives him directions to escape. A chase follows, and Henderson almost catches Charlie, until the second agent attacks him. The 2 men fight in the laundry room, throwing each other into machines. Henderson shoves the other agent's head into a washing machine. The agent manages to shoot Henderson, but Henderson grabs the gun and shoots him back. Charlie watches, unsure if he should help, but Inqualine reminds him to keep running. The next day, O'Brien brings Moore to her office and asks about Charlie. Moore says he's on bereavement leave. She lets him go but later reveals she has security footage from the hotel. Meanwhile, Caleb and his team review the same footage and realize Charlie had help. They search through his encrypted chats and finally discover his messages with Inqualine. After a long search, the agents discover the file of the original Inqualine, who was a deceased agent, and guess that his wife must have taken over his identity. That night, Charlie and Inqualine decide to sleep next to each other for comfort. But they're suddenly woken by the screeching of Inqualine's birds. Checking the security cameras, they see agents approaching the house. The 2 immediately escape through a hidden tunnel in the wall. As they flee, Charlie spots a drone in the sky. They sneak into another building and manage to slip out of the neighborhood just before the agents storm Inqualine's house. Fortunately, the computer has already started deleting all the files, leaving nothing behind. Running across the beach, Charlie and Inqualine reach her car, but the drone spots them. Agents begin to open fire and even pursue them by boat. The agents manage to damage the car, forcing it to stop. Inqualine is mortally wounded. With no other choice, Charlie moves her body to the passenger seat and takes the wheel, eventually losing the agents. Later, Charlie hides the car in a garage and kisses Inqualine goodbye. The next day, Charlie contacts Lawrence while pretending to be an arms dealer, arranging a meeting. He buys new electronics and travels to Romania. In an abandoned building, he records his face and hacks into a Berlin security feed, tricking the CIA into believing he's in Berlin. When Lawrence finally arrives at the meeting location, he finds a ringing phone on a chair. Charlie speaks to him through the phone and tells him to open a nearby box. Inside, Lawrence finds several bombs and a photo of Sarah. Charlie appears behind him and demands to know where Horst is, promising to disarm the bombs if Lawrence cooperates. Lawrence explains that Horst is working in Russian waters and usually receives deliveries at a Baltic seaport. Charlie then asks how to get in contact with Horst. Lawrence explains that Horst only receives messages through coded transmissions from his men. All the necessary numbers and names are on his phone, which he tosses to the floor. Charlie picks it up and walks away, hearing the bombs detonate behind him, killing Lawrence. Soon, the CIA is informed of Lawrence's death in Romania and realizes they were watching faked footage all along. Meanwhile, in a hotel in Russia, Charlie imagines Sarah beside him and opens the gift she left. It's a puzzle, which he quickly solves. Inside is a heartfelt message from her. The next morning, Charlie goes to the port and spots a suspicious vehicle. He sends the coded message from Lawrence's phone and notices a man by the car checking his phone in response. Charlie follows him, discreetly taking photos of the boat he boards before heading back. Using the boat's registration number, Charlie traces it to a specific yacht and studies the possible sea routes Horst could be using. The next morning, as he approaches the vessel, someone knocks him out from behind. Sarah's puzzle falls from his hands. Charlie regains consciousness aboard the yacht, face to face with Horst, who reveals he found the bomb Charlie had previously planted. Horst mocks him, saying he's only ever killed indirectly and lacks the nerve to do it face to face. He hands Charlie a gun and dares him to prove otherwise. But Charlie can't do it. He lowers the weapon. Suddenly, the yacht veers sharply, changing course. The crew panics. Charlie reveals that he's taken remote control of the vessel. Since the yacht is CIA administered and he once worked on its security protocols, it was easy for him to override the system and reroute it straight to Finnish waters. Soon, the Finnish Navy and Interpol arrive and surround the yacht, arresting Horst and his men. Sometime later, O'Brien gives a press conference announcing the arrest of all the corrupt agents who had been misusing CIA resources for illegal operations. Afterward, Henderson finds Charlie and tells him he's proud of what he's done. In the final scenes, Charlie visits Sarah's grave, quietly honoring her memory. Then, returning home, he finally climbs into the plane and takes it for a long-awaited ride. Please like and subscribe for more video like this. Thanks for watching.